Hello, everybody. Welcome to this week's episode of Spiritual Spiral. I'm your host, Sam Davidson, of course, joined by my good friend and fellow co-host, Sari Cohen.
Hey.
And for those that don't know or are just tuning in, learning about this is a show where we interview experts in the spiritual field, whether that's mediums, psychics, healers. Last week we had like a crystal expert on. It was so cool. And I'm so excited for this week because I'm going to fangirl just a little bit because this is a woman I have actually been a fan of for a couple of years. And I think she is such a fascinating, impressive psychic medium, Calise Simone. How are you? Thank you so much.
Hi. Thanks for having me on the show.
Thank you for joining us.
Yes.
Absolutely.
You
it's
are
such a
all the way
pleasure.
in Australia right now.
Yes, today I am in Brisbane, Australia, and it's really nice to be here. We're going through winter, which is nothing like a New York winter, but still, we're on the other side of the world, so it's different here.
Wow, I love that.
So cool. I've always felt like I should have lived in Australia. I tend to do things opposite, and I always just felt this connection with Australia.
So, you should come visit.
Yeah.
Well, the way that I know who Calise is because there's a podcast that I have listened to a bunch called Calling Out with Susan Pinsky, and they have different amazing psychic mediums on every single week, and I discovered Calise. And so to begin with, before we dive into everything, obviously we want to touch a little bit on what's going on in today's world, how you felt before quarantine hit, and what you see this looking like when it finally ends.
Sure, yeah. So I work as a psychic and as a medium. The mediumship is talking to loved ones in the spirit world, and the psychic is picking up on past, present, and future. So that means I can sense people from the spirit world coming through, but I also get premonitions and senses of things going on in the world around us. And before the quarantine hit, I did mention in many people's readings things such as, I see your business slowing down, or, I feel like you shouldn't invest in such and such a project just yet. And many people, my clients and people that have listened to the podcast, have said that I've told them things such as, I see widespread flu, or I see political issues coming out of the eastern part of the world. So I wasn't particularly surprised when this all started to flare up. I did feel, in terms of, the average person versus what a psychic would feel, I tend to listen to my intuitive promptings very, very strongly. So I did feel very concerned when I first heard the news, because I'd had these feelings of widespread flu. I'd had these feelings that something was going to come out of Asia. And so when I heard it, I took it very seriously, and I did start to think about long-term planning. Before quarantine, I guess I was ready. I had options of what I would do if this happened, what I would do if that happened. And one of the things I decided to do, for example, was come to Australia, and I followed my intuition on that one. And I think I ended up getting here a couple of days before the borders closed. And it is really important to follow your intuition for things like that. I do believe, had I stayed in the US, it would have been okay as well. And I feel that my friends who are in the US have done the right thing, and they're getting through it okay. In terms of moving forward, I do feel this might go on for a little longer than people have expected. I don't feel it's going to be like a 2-month thing and then it's over. I feel like we've got at least a year or so ahead of lifestyle changes. My personal prediction is it might be about 3 years from start to finish until life goes back to a version of normal that we knew before. I don't necessarily feel that life there'll be differences, but I still feel we will get a sense of normality. Obviously, a lot of people are going to be working through tech. A lot of people will be aware of their hygiene. But, overall, I still feel, in terms of people's approach to everyday life, I do feel people will bounce back quite well, and there will be some kind of routine in our society. Some people have asked me how I see this ending in terms of, will there be a vaccine? Will it just die out or burn out? And my feeling is that there'll be a treatment before a vaccine. We really will only know when it happens, but I do feel there is potential for a vaccine to come much later, like in more than a year. Like it could be 3 years until the vaccine arrives, unfortunately. But I feel like there may be some kind of treatment, whether it's an antiviral or some kind of process to treat the virus before it really all ends.
Wow. It's important because I agree with you. I think we are in it for the long haul. But I feel like it's been a ride for everybody. People are experiencing all kinds of emotions and it fluctuates day to day. How do we do something now to ground ourselves to stay happy? I mean, I know not every day is happy, but what are some things we can do to kind of help ourselves out right now?
Yeah, that is a great question because it can be a total roller coaster even from minute to minute. It's not normal to have to strategize on how you're going to go to get your groceries from the supermarket. So the biggest thing that I want to just tell people is don't put pressure on yourself. A lot of people are saying, this is the time to buckle down and grow your business and get out there and learn 10 new languages. And I just feel like you have to be realistic and understand that many people, maybe not everyone, but many people are going through higher levels of anxiety. They're going through versions of trauma. And this is not a time to be pushing yourself. This is a time to just do what you can do at a pace you can handle. And if you are not working and you have a lot of free time, maybe you want to occupy yourself, or maybe you just want to sit and be quiet for hours on end. It's okay. Like whatever your pace is okay for you. So the first thing is self-acceptance. Once you get through the self-acceptance, there's a lot of activities you can do. You can meditate, you can dance, you can sing, you can cook. Anything that snaps you into a higher vibration is a great start. And if you do live near nature and you are able to go outside and go for a walk with distance, I definitely recommend doing that. If you can't, you can daydream. There's nothing wrong with daydreaming. And you can write down places you want to go when it's over, things you want to do when quarantine finishes, and just keep that hope in your mind and focus on the things that make you feel good. Because one of the biggest things about getting stuck into panic and stuck into depression is that you've got to learn to just snap yourself out of it. So having little triggers, things that you can remember, put pictures around your room of stuff you really love that when you look at it, it just heightens your vibration. Anything that's going to snap you into that positive mode is going to be great for this time.
And as a psychic for an event like this, that even for our parents and some of our grandparents, this is one of the craziest things that's happened in their lifetimes. And when me and you were also discussing when we spoke earlier this week, kind of like what's meant to be versus, things that kind of just happen along the way. So do you think that, this virus was kind of, and the way our world is changing was written in the stars for some reason or another? Or do you think external factors attributed to what we're going through right now?
So it really depends on your personal belief system as to how you view that. The first thing I want to point out is that, depending on your age group, our grandparents lived through world wars.
Yeah.
So I think we're just really spoiled and we're really lucky in the sense that we just haven't had anything. I mean, we have, we've had terrorist attacks and all that kind of stuff in our lifetimes, but we haven't really had a global thing happen all at once for a couple of generations now. So it does seem like a bit of a shock. And for me, what I believe is one of the main things that we need to keep in mind is to recognize that stuff happens all the time, whether you're psychic, whether you're not psychic, whether you live on a beautiful island or whether you live in like Manhattan downtown in the craziness of it all, in the middle of London, wherever, things will happen every day. In order to keep normality in your life, you have to take the approach of, I'm going to ride the wave. So yeah, I do believe that this is part of our journey. We signed up to be in the physical world at this time and experience this event. But I also believe that in order to get through it, you've got to think like you're surfing and the waves just come and you either surf the wave or you get pulled under. So the best way to get through times like this, I believe, is to just ride the wave. If there's something that, maybe you are around someone who's ill, so you wear your PPE, or maybe you get ill and then you pull through, or, you've just got to do what happens for you and run your own race in these kind of times. I do believe it's really easy to overanalyze and overthink it and try to find answers and question everything, which is okay. Let yourself go down that rabbit hole if you need to, but just remember that, and this is a funny thing that I discuss with a lot of people who, they want to talk about conspiracy theories and stuff. And I just say to them, look, on Monday, you still have to pay your electricity bill. And on Tuesday, you still have to pay your phone bill. So yeah, there might be a bigger reason why this is happening, but you still have to get through your day to day. So definitely just keep pulling yourself back and remembering that, okay, this might be part of what's destined or what's not destined, but you still have to run your own race.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Yeah. I want to get into more about what you do as a medium. I mean, obviously we're dealing with life and death right now in this moment and what's happening. I mean, we're coming up, if we already passed 100,000 deaths in the US. What is going on with you psychically at this time as a medium? Are you having heightened experiences?
So because I'm not physically in the US, I'm not feeling it as much as I would be if I were there. When I do read the reports and I am in touch with people in the US, I do feel a certain sense of a more intense vibration. It does feel that there are moments in society where the veil opens, large amounts of people cross over, and then it closes. So it is something where I do feel the emotional effects of it. But a lot of the time I'm very good at opening and closing my energy. So when I open the energy, when I'm with a client, I'm 100% present. I'm 100% connecting them to the spirit world. But then when I'm out of a reading, I try to keep my life as normal as possible so that I can get through the day. I do feel, as a medium, it's really important to control the energy and manage the energy because we feel energy so strongly. So if I were to be completely open and perhaps, walking around New York City right now, it might be a very different story.
Yeah, I'm sure. And, one of the things that I've always been fascinated with, so I think I told you that one of my favorite older movies, just movies in general, is Sliding Doors with Gwyneth Paltrow. And, it's basically, and I've always just been itching to have a conversation with a psychic about this topic because it's fascinated me. So for those that don't know, the movie, I think it's a British film, and she, in one scenario, she catches her train to go home to her fiance. And in this other scenario that they show you both, she misses the train. And it shows that this small thing of getting on a train or missing a train completely changes the trajectory of her life. And the film is so well done because you see both of them simultaneously, oh wow, this life is better for her, oh now this life is better for her, but you still don't really know which one is the reality. So I guess my question for you, Calise, is do you believe in divine intervention in that way that things can change what's written in the stars and what's planned out? Or is, maybe even when things do change, that was written in the stars too, that was just a side thing? It's very complicated.
This is such a fun question to think about because it's the one thing this is why we all go for readings, because we can't figure out whether we have free will or whether it's written in the stars. 100% we have free will. Okay, 100% you can choose whatever you want at any moment. I believe, and my experience has shown me, that you will make decisions based on what you want in that moment to allow you to learn lessons that you need to learn. So if you need to learn lessons about love, you'll make decisions that expose you to lessons about love. So that means that if you, for example, if you do get on the train or you don't get on the train, you're still going to meet someone that is going to help you learn that lesson that you need to learn as part of that chapter of your life. So really, what I think is it doesn't actually matter whether you choose path A or path B. You'll still have the experience you need to have, just in a different package or in a different form at a different time of day. So in that sense, there will always be fate. You'll always end up with the set of skills that you need by the end of your journey, but it's up to you which path you want to take to get to the end goal. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that's so fascinating. What do you think about that, Sari?
Yeah. I'm amazed by that. I mean, I love that you said the idea of free will, because I think that's been like an ongoing discussion. Obviously, the battle or so between fate and free will, and I am a big believer in, you choose your own destiny. You create the world that you want to live in. That's your choice. Every day you wake up, and that is the world that you live in is your choice.
Yeah,
absolutely. And if you choose something that's completely not aligned with your path, spirit will have a way of getting you back on your path at that time.
Yeah, it's like certain things you just keep on trying. And I mean, I think if you keep on trying at something and it still doesn't work, I don't necessarily think that makes it that you're not meant for that path. I think in one scenario, it could show that like you keep on trying and you don't give up, and that's a good thing. But there's definitely things that come in people's paths that, you know, it's like, I guess that wasn't meant to be. That wasn't supposed to happen today. But it's hard. It's a hard thing to kind of think about all the time because, like me, you get in your head about it. Like, oh, is this not meant to happen? For instance, last night I lost my internet, and I've been so excited for this interview all week. And I lose my internet last night, and I was like, is it not meant to be? Am I not supposed to be talking to Calise? Like, no, that's ridiculous. I let my friend let me come over, social distance. You know, I'm in her second bedroom, but you know, those thoughts always kind of go through your head. You overthink it when, you know, things just shit happens sometimes too, and it's hard
Right.
to decide what's a sign and what's just you living your life.
Absolutely. And that's another great question to look into. So one of the things I would say is sometimes there are things that aren't meant to be. And with those things, you will experience roadblocks. And then some things are meant to be, but we get so nervous that we create roadblocks. And so a lot of people ask me, like you said, with the internet, why did that happen? You know, and you need to decide situation by situation, what's actually causing this not to work? Is it my own fear, or is it something that I really can't get around? Now, I'll give you an example of each one so that you all can go home and do your homework and figure this out and have fun with it, even though we're all already home right now. So if you are meant to be, say you're on your way to the mall, and you keep getting red light after red light after red light, and you're just saying, geez, I just want to get to the mall. And then you get there and you end up getting there 15 minutes later than you were supposed to get there, and you're texting your friend and your friend's not responding, and you get there and you're just like, oh, 15 minutes late. That is an example often of spirit holding you up, because you might get to the mall and find out 15 minutes before there was a car accident, or 15 minutes before someone got mugged, or there was some emergency at the mall, and that's spirit keeping you safe. So that's something that's out of your control. You're not panicking, you're still in the flow, and you're just doing what you can do with the resources you have, okay? You're surrendering to spirit, and you're just going with it and saying, look, I'm held up, I'm late, I texted my friend's not responding, but I'm still going, and I'm just going at a gentle pace. Then you have situations like last night where the internet stops working. You start to panic. And maybe you were really excited for this interview, but then maybe you also had feelings of, oh my God, what if I ask the wrong questions? Oh my God, what if Calise doesn't show up? Oh my God, what if, you know, like all these what ifs. And then we start to manifest and create situations that we don't want. And you're not doing it on purpose. It's just the vibration that might be putting out there from your own nervous energy. And when you work with spirit and you work with technology, oh boy, get ready for things to go wrong, because those two, it's like water and electricity. Just things happen really quickly. So that can be an example of where your own energy can stand in your way and make you feel like it's not meant to be. The biggest problem with that is a lot of people mistake their own fear for spirit intervention, and they give up on things they really love, on things they really should be doing, on career paths, on relationships, or vice versa. They hold on to relationships, or they hold on to career paths that aren't working because they're intervening and putting their own emotions on it. If you take a calm approach to everything you're doing and you follow through to the best of your ability with all the resources you have, and it works, awesome. If you do that and it doesn't work, walk away. Try the next thing. If it's meant to be, it will come back and find you again.
Mm-hmm.
You should never worry about that with spirit. Everything that's meant to be will find you again when it needs to find you.
And Sari actually had such a sweet take on what happened to me last night, because we were chatting before you came on, and I called an AT&T support woman, and it was like 8:30 here in California. So, and she ended up being in Virginia, so it was later. And yeah, I had a really nice conversation with this stranger who I found out was pregnant and got laid off of her job and was working for AT&T, and she was super nice. She wasn't able to fix my problem, but we just chatted and laughed about movies. And Sari, tell them what you told me.
I said maybe it was a conversation that she needed to have. I mean, I knew when she was telling me this, I said, Sam, my gut is telling me everything is going to work out just fine. We're going to find a way. I mean, we'll make it work. But maybe this person on the other end of the line needed to hear a message that Sam had to give.
Yeah, I was kind
I
of
completely
awkward.
believe that.
I found out she was pregnant, you know, kind of alone, and I didn't really know what to say to this stranger who's a pregnant woman 6 months in, you know, struggling. And I just said, I was like, I hope you have a really great baby. I was like, whoa, that's a weird thing to say to somebody. But
But it's still nice to say something at all, you know?
I know, and like we both kind of supported each other, like, you're gonna be okay, girl. And honestly, I was upset about the internet, but after I got off the phone with her, I was just really excited to connect with a stranger like that.
Mm.
So it could be for many different
And
reasons.
we just don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah. We
Just
just don't know what those reasons are. And I think we all try to control our path so much. We love control. You know, we love to know what's going to happen. We love to make decisions and we love to be in charge, but we're just not. And I think you'd be silly to think that you are.
Yeah.
Spirit's always going to have a plan, and we just fit in somewhere along the way.
that brings about the next topic I wanted to talk about, which is manifestation. Because I totally
Yes.
love and believe in manifestation, but I've shared with you, Calise, that sometimes I feel as though I'm setting myself up for failure because I am trying to manifest something that maybe isn't part of my own plan. And then when everyone says, well, you can do whatever you want, if you think it, if you focus on it, it can happen. And then it doesn't happen. And I'm trying to gain control here. And then I'm kind of just frustrated and confused by the end of it. So what do you kind of have to comment on that and how you can manifest realistically?
Okay, so my understanding with manifestation is, and if you really want to get into like details on this, you should speak to someone that's done like a Course in Miracles, one of those coaches. But I've done a lot of research and I've got a lot of experience, so I can just tell you what I think, which is anything that's meant to be that's part of your path will instantly manifest if you allow it to. Anything that's not completely relevant will not instantly manifest. For example, if I say, I want to win the lottery tomorrow and I want to win $200 billion, which is more than enough money, and when I wake up, I'll have the winning ticket in my purse. Now, that might not be relevant to my path because if I win that money, I might stop doing readings, and maybe there's some people out there that really need the readings. And so my spirit guides are just like, yeah, no, we're not going to let you do that now. But then there's this other theory that says if you truly believe something to be true, you can receive it. So I always say to people, start small when it comes to manifesting. Start with something that you truly believe is possible for you. And that's where you'll start to find your boundaries. Now, your belief system will limit what you can manifest in your life. So if you truly believe, please don't try this at home, but it's just an example. But if you truly believe you can fly, you will fly. If you truly believe it and everyone around you believes it, the law of attraction manifestation says it can happen, right? But we don't, because we've been taught about gravity and scientific laws and things like that. So start with something that you truly believe is possible. For example, you might say, I truly believe that I will be able to connect to my spirit guides in the next 24 hours and they will leave me a sign. Something really small and easy like that. Or I truly believe that I will be able to get through all my work today and be very productive. I'm going to set that intention and see what happens. So then the next aspect is setting the intention and letting go with zero expectation. So after you've set the intention, you just let go, you forget about it. People, you make your vision board, put it away. A lot of people stare at it and they're like, it has to happen, it has to happen. And then when it doesn't happen right away, we get really upset and we go, oh, it didn't happen, it doesn't work for me. And it's only been like 20% of the time. Maybe it's like a 5-hour manifestation window that Spirit set up for you. And after 2 hours, you lose hope. And what happens when we lose hope? Negative vibes, negative vibes, negative vibes, and we start pushing it away. So don't give up too soon and start with something realistic with no expectation. If you take those 3 approaches, you should be able to get the ball rolling pretty quickly. And just remember, as soon as you set the intention, forget about it and walk away. That's when the best things happen, in my experience.
I love that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I do. I'm a big believer in energy too. I think it is all about the energy that we put into something. And I totally agree with what you were saying. There's kind of like a surrender to the universe when you put your energy out there and you let the universe guide you. It's going to open up doors that you didn't even know existed.
And if you want to keep the energy rolling, then as soon as something does manifest, get really excited about it. as you guys were just speaking earlier, I remembered an example. Whenever I travel, I like to set fun intentions just as a game. So I'll be sitting on the plane and I'll say, you know what, tomorrow I just want to receive a free gift. It doesn't matter what it is. I just want to receive a free gift just for fun. And then someone will give me a cookie or, like a free shower cap at a hotel. But instead of going, oh, it's a free shower cap, I go, yay, that's my free shower cap. And then more good stuff happens and it kind of just gets the ball rolling of a fun, happy vibration.
Yeah, I guess for me, I set things at a pretty high expectation. I've always had a fantasy I would meet my soulmate on an airplane. So I used to go on like every airplane being like, he's gonna be sitting next to me today. And yeah, it hasn't happened yet. And I always laugh.
Have you met people on airplanes full stop?
I have met people on airplanes, and I think
okay, hold on.
Okay.
Because you might be meeting soulmates on airplanes, but not the love of your life on an airplane. Mm-hmm. Okay, so you might be meeting men and women that are part of your journey, that are soulmates that are going to teach you lessons, even if it's just for an hour or two on an airplane. And then you're walking off saying, I didn't meet my soulmate. And Spirit's like, we sent you one of your soulmates. You've got 100 soulmates out there to teach you all these lessons. But what you need to ask for is, I want to meet the love of my life on an airplane, someone that I can marry, someone that I can be together with. Maybe just get more specific in the manifestation.
Yeah, I think I do.
And see if that helps.
I know, I'll try, because I always laugh. It's, a lot of times when I really tried to manifest it the wrong way, probably, I would get sat next to someone, that smelled bad, or I was just like,
oh, that's
crying baby, I don't know, maybe that was my past child and past life, who knows, but no, I'm very, friendly, and I also have this way of thinking that my life is kind of like a romantic comedy, and I want the events in it to play out that way, which is kind of funny. So.
Well, there's still time. There's still lots of airplanes in the future. We're still going to be able to travel, maybe not tomorrow, but in the future we will. So I would say just, stick with it and see what comes.
Yeah, out of this, if I meet my love of my life on an airplane, he'll probably be 10 seats away from me, and I'll be like, hi.
He's going to be a pilot, Sam. Just watch.
Exactly.
He's going to be a pilot. I love that. So next, I also want to talk about the way that you communicate with spirit, and first of all, how did you really get into all of this?
Okay, so do it. Yeah, it's a very strange journey, because a lot of people who know me before I started doing this work and after have been doing this work, they were quite surprised. I was equally as surprised. I never planned to be a medium. This was not something I chose to do. The way I explain it is that Spirit chose me. And I do believe a lot of people have this story where they feel like Spirit chose them to do the work. So I just felt like I wanted to live in America. I didn't really know why. I was like, I just feel like I need to go to America. And I transferred with a job over there. I was working in finance at the time, loved my career. And then basically a lot of spiritual stuff started happening around me. And I had a lot of spiritual experiences, and I wanted to learn how to turn it off, because quite frankly, it was distracting and it was annoying me, and I wanted to get back to finance and be that person and keep doing the Wall Street thing, and all these dead people kept showing up and all these premonitions kept coming in. I was like, I need to learn how to switch this off. So I did meditation classes, psychic development classes. I sat in circle at Spiritualist Church. And as I was doing all this, I realized I had a gift or an ability. And other students in the classes would say, hey, can we hang out after class? Can you do a reading for me? Can you do a reading for my friend? Can you do a reading for my mom? And I realized I had this ability that I could use to help people. And it was so fun and it was so cool. So I started doing that more and more. And fast forward to today, now I'm a medium and a psychic. And here we are. And I think this is part of the best aspect of manifestation. When you just follow something that you want, and you don't really know why you follow it, you land up doing really awesome things, because you're following a vibration, you're not following an expectation. So I followed a vibration, and here I am doing really fun stuff, helping a lot of people. And I don't know, I don't think it gets much better than this. For me, I get really excited every day I wake up and I get to do readings. And I don't think a lot of people can say that about their job. So that's how I got into it, if that answers the question.
Yeah.
That's amazing. Is it, I mean, we kind of talked about this a little bit, but is it possible to do a little reading for us today?
Sure. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, Sarah,
Okay.
do you want to go first?
Okay.
This is
I don't think I've ever
you know,
officially done this before, so I don't, this is all new territory for me.
No worries. Yeah, let's see who's around. The first thing I'm hearing as I openly connect to your energy is that there's a lot of nervousness. So please don't be nervous. We're just going to see who's there. And I do feel like I want to connect you to a woman, and I keep feeling like she's very tall, great posture. And I'm getting a lot of energy around this midsection. So there might have been something in the chest area or the breast area. I feel like I need to tell you it's not your mother. So if your mother's in spirit, it's not your mother. Or if you want to speak to your mother, it's not your mother. But she does feel very much like the matriarch of the family. So I don't know if I've got your mother's mother or your father's mother, but would that make sense, an ailment around this area for a grandmother in the family?
Yeah.
Okay, you don't have to tell me who it is. I also feel like my neck's getting very, very stiff, and that she's well put together, like my hair is set and I've got my glasses on and I'm ready to talk. But I don't have Chanel or diamonds, or, she's not a fancy lady, but she's well put together. And I feel like she's going to tell me something really important. So perhaps she only spoke when she had something important to say. Do you understand that? Okay, she also feels eloquent and quite educated. I don't feel I've got like a doctorate or a master's degree, but I feel like I can talk about lots of topics with this woman. She shows me that in her life, as she lived, her marriage was very important in terms of building her confidence. So it might have been one of those scenarios where I live at home with my parents, I get married so I can move out, and then I stay married my whole life. Would you also understand that I feel like I need to talk about the letter F? Do you recognize any F names in the family on that side?
In the family?
Or around this woman, if you have an idea of who it is. Am I correct that I have your mother's mother?
I could. No, it's not my mother's mother.
Okay, but you know who it is?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. And do you understand that the F connects to her?
Yes. Yeah.
How does it connect to her, if you don't mind me asking?
So it would be my, can I tell you who it is or who I?
Yeah, that's okay.
So it would be my dad's stepmother, grandmother, who I always knew as my grandmother, and her stepdaughter is Frances.
Frances. Okay, I was going to say Fiona, but Frances makes sense. So because I've got her, and then she's giving me the F. When she says that I'm not the mother, so that's why it's not the mother, because it's the stepmother. Okay, thanks for clarifying. And she said she had a hard time catching her breath. So you understand this thing of the throat and the stiff neck with her. How would you relate to that, just so we can clarify that?
So she passed away from CHF, congestive heart.
Okay.
Yeah.
So exactly. So that would have been catching the breath, and because it's all around her.
Yeah.
She's a brave woman though. And she knows what's up. Like, she's strong and she's ready to go. Now, she says she's been following you around lately, and she said that she sees that you're not finishing tasks that you've started. And without getting too personal, because we are on the show, I will just say that she's giving you a lot of energy to help you finish what you started. And she said she doesn't want you, I don't know if you're married, but there's something going on with men and like getting to know someone, but not like pulling it through. So this could be a friendship thing if you are married, but if you're not married, it's something to do with like, I feel like you're dating people, she's showing me, but not like getting to know them. It's like, I'll go on a date, or I'll have a chat with you, and then I'll just move on to the next one because I don't want to hurt myself and fall in love. Does this make sense?
Totally.
Yeah. So she's saying, finish what you started, get in there, you won't get hurt. And I feel like he's around the corner, and I want to give you November. So let me know. Let me know if you meet anyone special in November. Let me know if quarantine lifts in November, and maybe that's when you go on a date with someone you're speaking to. But she just gave me that, and she goes and gives you a kiss. Can I leave that with you?
Yes. Thank you.
She's very sweet.
What was that like? Like, I mean, it's your first medium reading. Was it like you knew exactly who she was talking about the whole time?
Yeah, I felt like at first, I wasn't sure, but when you started to describe her, I was like, oh, that's my grandma Blanche. And it's so, you nailed her. It was so interesting even to talk about dating, and that, because I feel she's been around me lately, particularly when it comes to that. And I have felt her lately because she wanted me. She would want me to. I feel like she's pushing me, you should be with the love of your life. You should be married. You should do this, follow through. Exactly what you said.
She's traditional, isn't she? Yes.
Yeah, she wanted to marry me off like 20 years ago. She was like, yeah.
Our Jewish
Oh.
families, right? They're just
Yes.
Oh, that's very sweet. And Sam, should we look at someone for you as well?
Yes, please.
Okay, let's have a look there. Okay, I feel like I've got a bigger chest now. My chest has gone a bit bigger, possibly a bit of a tummy as well. And it's someone who wasn't doing well before they passed. They might have been in and out of hospital or in and out of appointments. I also feel like I'm in the chest area with this man, and heavier breathing. I feel like there was a lot of lying down before I passed, and a lot of just feeling sort of breathless and maybe dizzy, but just not enough oxygen in my body. But I'm not the kind of person to complain or tell people how I feel. Would you recognize this for a grandfather or your dad, if your dad's in spirit?
Yes, my dad is in spirit. It could honestly be either my dad or my grandfather.
Okay, because I felt the connection to both. Don't tell me anymore. Let me just see. I do feel like it's someone who would have had a nickname. Like if it's grandpa, it could be Papa. If it's dad, it could be Dada. But I feel like there's a nickname there with like a 2-syllable thing. And someone who I feel like you want to talk to him more, but you don't get to talk to him as much because you're young. So someone that would have been around you a lot when you were younger, but not so much now. And someone that's commenting, he looks old. Could it be granddad? I feel like I've got some wrinkles around here. I feel like I watch a lot of TV before I pass.
Yeah.
I've got glasses on as well. Am I correct that he wore bifocals too? Because I feel like I've got this line in my glasses.
Yeah, well, I'm trying now to figure out if it's which grandfather it is, because
I feel like I'm on your dad's side.
Like on my dad's side. I don't know if he wore glasses. The other one did. But yeah, okay. Yeah, no, I do remember him wearing glasses.
Okay, that's all right. Look through photos and have a look.
Yeah.
If you do have pictures of him wearing glasses, try to like look real close and see if they're bifocals, because I feel like I've got that line in the glasses where it's the reading glass and then the long distance one. Real great sense of humor, but just the main thing he keeps showing me is he was not happy about the fact that he was passing. He was very proud. He wanted to be the hero of the family, but he basically just got quiet as he got older. He shows me a lot of books around you, a lot of research and a lot of studying, and he says there will be success. There will be success, and he shows me that it's not at this point in your life. It feels like your greatest success comes in your 40s, after 41, that's when all the money will flow in. He says this is learning, this is fun time, but when you get to your 40s, that's when you'll have the success. There's also a gentleman with him smoking. Do you want to speak to that gentleman as well?
Sure, yeah.
Okay, could that be your father?
Yeah, well, him and my grandfather both love cigars, but...
Oh, okay. Because I feel like I've got a younger gentleman behind him smoking. Let me see if it's dad. Dark hair. He's got all his hair, whereas granddad's got like lighter hair or sort of thinning hair at the top. And the man behind him's just kind of winking at you like that. He's just saying hi.
Flirting with me, because then that's somebody else.
Okay, yeah, then it could be somebody else.
High school friend, he pops into readings quite a bit.
Do you know if he smokes cigarettes though? Because I've got like a bad boy vibe. Okay, all right, then it's not dad. We'll do dad in a private reading. But I feel like and with this other man, he does look younger, so he could be like teenage 20s when he passes, and he feels like he's nonstop got this cheeky smile, like he's either just told a joke or he's about to tell a joke. And he just wants you to know that he's happy and you're not missing out on anything you should be doing. That's his main message. He's telling me, and this is going to get personal, but he is telling me that sometimes you feel like there's this big rain cloud following you around, like in the cartoons. And he says that's so not the case. He says if you just take one step to the right, you'll be standing in the sunshine. So what he's showing me is you always have a choice of how you want your day to go. So stand in the sunshine and everything will feel happier. Yeah. Do you know if you drive really fast?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, you understand why he's showing me that?
Yeah, probably, yeah.
Yeah, like a bit of a hoon. I just feel like I'm whizzing around corners, and but he doesn't mind that you say things about him Like if you make jokes about him or you say, oh, he really liked me and that kind of stuff, he doesn't mind. He says, say whatever you want. I just want you to be happy and I want you to know that I love you, and I've never really been that far away from you, but I've watched over you the whole time.
That's very
Could
sweet.
you also, last one, do you know why he's showing me you lighting a candle? Do you light candles for him, or did you when he passed?
I light candles, I guess, just a lot in general, but I'm trying to think
Okay.
when he passed, we did. Yeah, I think I probably said it because I couldn't go to the funeral. So yeah, that would make sense that I did that.
He does show me when you do that, it brings his energy back in, because he says you can bring me back in any time with the candle if you need to.
Oh, cool.
So I'll leave that with you.
Okay, thank you so much.
You're
Yeah,
welcome.
till now.
I mean, it's so amazing. So something I also wanted to ask you, which ties into all of this, which is if you have someone very close to you that's on the other side, and you just, like, for instance, with my dad, he comes through, usually, but when he first passed, I thought to myself, I know all of these mediums now. I'm like, and I said to him, as he was dying, basically, like, we're good. I'm going to talk to you whenever I want to talk to you, and you're going to send me signs, and we're going to have this whole plan to do it. And he's like, yeah, I'm going to do it too. And like, we don't really have control over that necessarily, So it's when you're so close to someone and you expect and you hope to see these signs and you feel like you don't, does that mean that they're not there? Like, what is that block there?
Great question. So firstly, I do need to say with your situation, I feel he's right next to granddad and they come through like this. And so you need time for them to separate. If you were in a private reading, they would probably separate and you'd hear from dad. But I feel like he's so close with granddad that whenever granddad comes through, you just feel granddad. I do also feel like the reason for that is granddad's looking after him. So his dad is still nursing him and getting his energy up in the spirit world, particularly if a spirit had a very traumatic or intense passing. They will spend many years almost like annexed to or tied to an existing spirit that's been there longer. So that's very common. I see that a lot with my own grandma. She always comes through with her mother whenever she comes through, and she passed of cancer. So hers was like a long, drawn out, intense passing.
Yeah.
So I feel like that's the first thing. Okay, so that makes sense. So they're still kind of like nursing him in the spirit world, nursing his energy. So then the next thing that can happen, which is part of it, but I don't feel as much with you, I reckon with you it feels like he's building his energy. But I feel like the second part is with a lot of people that either you're too tired to remember the dreams you have with him, which can be very common when we're going through grief because we get so tired and so all over the place that we don't realize spirit's actually talking to us. Or you might be so close to a spirit that any connection, any communication will be very traumatic and take you right back into the puddle of grief. And so they know that and they're waiting for you to get strong. They're waiting for you to get over the grief so they can communicate in a way that won't hinder your progress. Does that make sense?
Yeah, sure.
Because otherwise, if he came through to say hi, you might be so overwhelmed by that experience that, or one might be, that we would just cry for another 4 days and it would regress our healing. So there's two aspects to it. There's his healing and there's our healing. I really, truly feel your dad is very much around you. And I feel like he will make himself more known as time goes on.
I do think it's his healing for sure. And as far as time, is it a social construct? Like, is it real? Because how people might feel on the other side of this was a year to me in my mind, and then on Earth, on this plane, people are like, that 1 year for them was 10 years for us. Like, how does that work? Like, is that what that is? Like, because it's hard to wrap your mind around for sure.
I believe so. I believe, what feels like a year for us feels like a minute for them. I believe that time isn't linear and that, you can stretch time, you can speed time up, you can slow time down. I just did it earlier this morning because I had a bunch of errands to run and didn't want to be late to talk to you. But I know for sure with spirit time, it moves much faster than our time. And I actually feel like that's why in readings, sometimes they'll say, it's just around the corner. And you're like, that was 4 years ago. What do they mean just around the corner? But for them, it's just around the corner. Or they'll say, I'll see you very soon, and you're not going to see them for another 30 years because you've got the rest of your life ahead of you. but time moves very quickly for them in comparison to what it does for us. They're on a different plane. They live on a much higher vibration. And, you know, we have lessons to learn. And some of those lessons we have to learn without them physically here with them as our guides.
Mm-hmm. Wow.
Are there certain signs that we can look out for, that we can be sensitive to with people who have crossed over?
Yes, absolutely. So one thing you can look out for is number patterns. That's a really common one that people tend to find as a clear sign. So you might look at the phone and you're thinking about dad, and all of a sudden it's 11:11, or it's 2:22, or it's 4:44. Now, when you've been thinking about a spirit and you see something like that, you know that's a sign for a spirit. Maybe you open your front door and there's a feather on the doormat. I've had that happen like 20 times just in the past couple of years. And when it's somewhere right on the doormat, things like that, I know it's not just a bird flying past. There's usually like the sign, and then there's an extra element. Or, and I just did a podcast about this as well, so we can talk about that later. But another really cool story that I tell on that podcast is how spirits can use their name to communicate with you. So maybe your dad's name was Jack, and then for the rest of the week, you meet 5 people named Jack. And of course, you know, that's the week that your dad's birthday was. And now you're meeting all these people called Jack. Of course, that's a sign from your dad. Or maybe you see someone, and this one's hilarious because it can be so confronting, where you see someone at the mall or on the train or at a friend's wedding, and it looks just like your dad. And you swear to God it's your dad, and you know it's your dad, or a car drives past and it's your dad driving it. You're like, how is that? You know, and I've walked up to people at airports and just stared at them like this, going, I know that's my friend's mom. I know that's my friend's mom. But it's not. And this, you know, this poor lady from Ohio is just standing there staring at me like, why are you know, and I can't say to her, oh, you look like a dead person, I know. But it's true. Spirit can do that as a sign as well. So there's lots of fun ways that they communicate with us. It's not just flicking the lights and turning the taps on and off. They can do some pretty cool things now and then as well.
Well, and I always too, when I was little, I thought that I would hear as though I was wearing a hearing aid a lot of the time, which I wasn't. And it just came into my ear a second ago. And like, you know, the older I've gotten, the more research I've done into all of this, you know, what I've heard is that, you know, hearing that kind of buzzing, you know, it almost sounds like you hit, I don't know, what are those triangle things? Like,
yes,
you know,
a triangle.
it's like, it's that vibration. So what does that mean to you?
So that to me is a version of clairaudience. Obviously, I have to start with the caveat of I'm not a doctor. Make sure you're hydrated. Make sure you don't have Meniere's disease, you know, all that kind of stuff. But from a spiritual perspective, that can be clairaudience. And that's what it feels like. As a psychic and a medium, when you go to sleep, that is the loudest time of the day. Silence is so loud when you're psychic. And it sounds like, the way I describe it to people is that it sounds like you're at a cafe, sitting at a table in the corner of the room. There's background noise, there's conversations, there's people chattering, there's people walking in and out, and that's just my bedroom. Sounds like that. So when you sit quietly and you meditate, you will tune into that vibration. You'll hear a lot. You might hear static, you might hear voices, you might hear a humming or a beeping sound, but that sound will, the more you tune into it, will eventually become chatter, which will eventually become conversation, which will eventually become direct voice, and allow you to communicate with the spirit world.
I want to ask you randomly, since you just touched on it a little bit, is there something to do with that, with white noise?
In terms of external white noise or internal white noise?
Vibration, external. Like, is there like a vibration or a frequency to it that is separate from, like, is there something special to that?
There could be. The way I would describe it is that anything of the physical plane will have a physical vibration. So the way in which white noise could trigger you to connect to the spirit world would be if you find it calming and if you find it centering. That's the only way that I really believe white noise could allow you to open a gateway or a vortex into another vibration. So it's something to focus on, as a candle is, as a meditation music is, or like a cloud, anything beautiful, a sunset. It's something to focus on to allow your mind to be calm, to tune into the vibration of spirit and open you up to another realm.
That makes sense.
Yeah. And And I mean, it could even be like for me, rain. That like if I
Yes.
can't sleep, I play rain on my phone. And it's weird. Like I was staying at my cousin's, and she has this little kid, and I love him, love him so much. But he's loud in the mornings, and he stresses me out. And when I was staring there, I just like started playing the rain, and I fell back asleep. And she's like, "Was it raining in your room? What are you doing?" And I was like, "I don't know. It always has made me feel better, which is odd." But yeah, whatever you can get to get in the mood, and be open to receiving. But, you know, also being so open to receiving things for you, I'm sure that you do everything that you can and you're supposed to protect yourself. But there's not always all good things over there that are coming through, right? I mean, how do you kind of make sure that you keep it clean and positive and that kind of thing?
So I really find that I control what I receive, in the sense that if I'm in a good mood or if I'm in a good place, I receive good things. If I ever start to feel weird energy, then I start to ask myself, right, what am I feeling to connect to this, or where am I? So sometimes if I'm staying at a hotel, you know, for example, and the room just feels really creepy, I'll ask to switch rooms. I am a nightmare client in that way, like a nightmare hotel customer, because if I don't like the room, I'm asking to, sometimes I've switched rooms like 2 or 3 times just because it feels weird. So firstly, I try to avoid getting myself in situations where the energy is not good. But if you are healthy and you're in a good spot, you know, and you're going through good things, you will only receive good messages from spirit. The stuff that people talk about where it's negative energy or you know, loud noises, or a lot of that psychic debris, that's not spirit communication. So psychic debris is something where a really angry person will walk into the room, scream, and walk out, and there's a lot of angry energy left in the room. So you either choose to connect that angry energy or calm yourself and put out calm energy and sort of like clean it and erase it in that way.
Mm-hmm. It's fascinating. It's good.
Mm.
Gotta clear that out. Well, I know that you also have a podcast that I really love as well that you do, and you guys just started up again. Can you tell us a little bit about the podcast and the things that you
Yeah.
talk about, and you know that you guys have all such good energy together?
For sure, thanks. So the other podcast that I've been working on is Third Eye Mind, and that's me and 2 of my friends. And I think part of the reason why we have so much fun doing it is because we're all friends in general anyway. We're not just 3 people that got cast together by a network. And we started doing this podcast because we just wanted to talk about things that the networks wouldn't let us talk about. So we talk about the truth behind mediumship, the truth behind being psychic, how we feel the spirit world works. We've got episodes coming up about pet communication, animal communication, signs from spirit, which is a subject we touched on today, how to interpret your dreams, what's the difference, like do twins have telepathy, are you psychic or are you just insane? You know, like we don't hold back because we don't have to, because we're unregulated in that sense. So it definitely becomes more of a fun show when there's less rules.
Oh, it's so fun.
This is everything. I'm tuning in now, Calise.
Cool. Yeah, you can find on Google Play, on iTunes, Third Eye Mind. And we took a pun on the band Third Eye Blind. Hopefully they don't mind if they ever hear our podcast. But we just thought it was really fun because that's just what we wanted to do.
I know. I always think of them. I'm like, it's not Third Eye Blind. It's Third Eye. Like, I get it.
Yeah.
Love Third Eye Blind. Sari, do you have any last questions for the amazing Calise?
I just want to thank you. It's been such a pleasure getting to know you, and thank you for my first reading. This was very
you're welcome.
Yeah.
It was such a pleasure. Thanks for having me on the show.
And where can everyone find you on Instagram, your website, if they want to book a reading for you, anything like that?
Absolutely. The best way to book a reading is to click on my website, which is calisesimone.com. You can find me on Instagram at Calise Simone. And those are pretty much the 2 main ways to find me. If you want to email me, it's just contact@calisesimone.com. And that goes directly to me, to my inbox.
Well, this has been so much fun for me and for us. Thank you guys again. And we love that we're getting new viewers that are looking forward to the show every week. I got a message last week and it warmed my heart so much because I get so much out of these shows, and I'm glad to hear that other people are as well. So you should follow our show on iTunes at Spiritual Spiral Show. Slide into the DMs. I will always, me or Sarah will always answer. And if you want any topics you want discussed or questions or suggestions for guests, we're always there. And of course, you can find Sari at The Savvy Scribbler on Instagram. And yep, there she is, writing away. And you can find me at SamD43. And Calise, it has been a pleasure. And I know we will keep in touch. And I'm so happy that you're doing well in Australia. Hopefully it'll be safe enough to come back within the next few months for you.
I hope so too. Thanks, guys.
Okay, bye guys. Thank you.